projects, and we kind of touched it on the surface, but today we're going to go a little bit deeper. So if you're new, this is day 3 of Ask a Death Doula. We're going live for 30 days so that you guys can learn what a death doula is, what we do, how we roll, and how to demystify death and to live a better life. It's like, to live a more fulfilling life, we must embrace death. The name of my death doula practice is called Carpe Mortem, which is Latin for seize the death, or seize death. Kind of like Carpe Diem. That was my play on Carpe Diem. All right. And the more comfortable we are with death, the more rich and fulfilled lives we get to live. All right. So yesterday, you guys were asking about legacy projects, and I gave you the surface. When most people think about what they're going to leave behind, they think house, jewelry, money, cars, property, right? And that's legal legacy. That's your estate. What I'm talking about and what I would like to talk about today is emotional legacy, sometimes called an ethical will, right? And it's, what do you want your people to carry forward that has nothing to do with property or materialism? And not saying that materialism is wrong. It's just that those things only last for so long. Okay, so what a legacy project actually is, like I said, your ethical will. What do you want people to remember? What are the lessons that you want them to remember? What are the values that you want to impart on those closest to you? And it doesn't have to just be one thing. It could be many things across your life. And this isn't just for people who are dying. This is something that you can start today. I have been working on legacy projects for a long time. I would say my first big legacy project, I told you guys about it yesterday, was my daughter. When she was born, I created an email address for her, and I put pictures and stories, and every time she did something, I would put it I would send an email, poetry, poems, and little things about our day that I knew would fade as time passed. And I'm so grateful I did, because it ended up being a legacy project for Erilyn and for me. Because some of you may know, I was diagnosed with cancer in 2016 and underwent the treatment, and the treatment stripped me of a lot of my memories. And there are so many things I don't remember about when my oldest was a baby. And the legacy project that I set up for her ended up being really useful for me to try to get back some of those memories. And it's not just for family. You can do this for your friends. You can do this for co-workers if you have a good relationship with the people that you work with. But it's really just things that you want to leave behind. So walking through some examples, right? So written legacy projects, memoirs, letters, journals, ethical wills, like an actual ethical will that is similar to your last will and testament about your property for your estate. I wrote a memoir. I wrote it for me, but it's a legacy project because my children and their children and maybe even their children will have this book, and they'll get to learn so much about me, especially if they don't get to meet me in life. Recorded. We also talked about Memorialia yesterday, which is the project that I'm connected to. They do recordings, and they record your loved ones. We did this with my grandmother. They went to where she was and interviewed her, and they're going to edit the film and deliver it to us as our legacy project. So we will always have this about my grandmother. My son is young, he's 6. I hope Gangan's with us for a few more years. Like, she could make it another 10, that'd be great. But Nico's young and he won't know her the way that the rest of us do. So this will be a great thing for him. Object-based, right? So recipe books, specific pieces of jewelry with a story attached. I have this book here. It says, "Yes, Queen." And it's kind of like my grimoire. It has my recipes, my tea blends that I create for different things. It has how to work with your ancestral altar, how to spiritually cleanse your house. Everything that I want my children and my descendants to know is in this book. And it's a living book. I'm adding to it constantly, and mixed in with all of that spiritual woo-woo stuff is my grandmother's pound cake recipe, right? And so this is real legacy because it is things that I've gotten from my elders and put in this book. So they're getting things from me, but they're also getting things from the women that came before me. Hey, Heidi, welcome. And so that's kind of like object and written. It's knowledge. It's a knowledge-based book on healing things. Like there's recipes for what I give my son when he has a chesty cough, what I give them when they're congested nasally. All of these things are in there. So they can never be like, do you remember what mama used to do when X, Y, and Z? They'll have it. And then experiential legacy projects. So I lightly mentioned living wakes yesterday. And this is something that I recommend to all of my Death Doula clients is we tend to give flowers to people once they're already gone, and we celebrate them. We talk about how much we love them and the impact that they had on our lives. And it never made sense to me why we waited until they were gone to say these things to people that weren't them. Like, why are we telling everybody else? So a living wake sets up an environment where you can already tell them or hear the things, right? And so in a living wake, it's just like a wake, except the person is alive and well and they're watching. And I've seen living wakes where, the children will sing and the older people will talk about their experiences, and people will come and they will just pour into the person that is on a clock, basically. And it's so good for the person that's dying, and it's so good for the people that are loving on them, because this gives you a different kind of closure than you would get in any other circumstance. Everything that needs to be said will be said, and I have seen some beautiful living wakes. Oh, Heidi, I love that. I did not know. So it was a living wake. It wasn't, you didn't know it was a living wake. It was just his birthday celebration. I love that. I really, really do love that. And so that's probably my favorite form of legacy project. And then there's the playful ones. Like I told you guys yesterday, I want little mini Ouija boards made, right? And at my memorial, everyone will get one upon leaving, and it'll be a picture of me smiling. And it's going to say, please keep in touch, right? It's fun. And you will always have this thing. And it's a conversation starter. And hopefully lightens things up so that people don't feel so heavy after I'm gone. I know, so my teacher, Erin Morelli, she is in Denver. She's a death doula in Denver, and Denver has all kinds of cool things that you can do with your body after death, aside from fire, cremation, or conventional burial. And so her sister had told her, when I die, I want you to make my bones into a wind chime. Now, if you know anything about the United States, you cannot, even like after a cremation, you can't get the bones. It's illegal to have human bones in the shape that they were in. It's just illegal for a multitude of reasons. But they grind them down and create a powder and then put them in a mold and make bone shapes. So she really did get her sister made into a wind chime, and that's a hell of a legacy project. And now this is starting to bleed into a conversation about body disposition, which we can do that on another day. Maybe later on, like after like day 10, we really get into the stuff. We'll talk about disposition options that are not conventional, but so much better for the earth and so much better for us as humans that still exist in this earth with lower carbon footprints. So we will get into that, but today is about legacy. So you can get as creative as you want with your ethical will or with your legacy projects. So why do legacy projects matter, right? When my sister died, she didn't leave anything like this. Like what we had is what we had. So the videos of us clowning, I never found her journal. Like, so that means that the version of her that I have in my head is the only version that anyone gets. It's the only version that my children will get, because we don't have a recording of her telling us what she thought about her life and what she thought about us and what she wanted to leave behind. We can only guess based on conversations that we had with her prior to her demise. And so that's what legacy projects protect against. They protect against this, what we can only guess, what we can infer based on experience. And what I know about experience is that everybody's perception of experience is going to be different. And so what's the truth? And it's so much better when you can hear it from the horse's mouth. So 3 entry points that anyone can take this week, hell, maybe even today, right? So pick one person in your life that you love and care about and write them a letter. Put it somewhere that they'll find it later. Or record a voice memo answering one question. What do I want you to know that I might not get to say? Now, you can put it somewhere that people will find it, or you can leave it with your lawyer, with your attorney. The person that's handling your legal will, your estate, can also handle your ethical estate. Yeah. But this is also what death doulas do. Death doulas tend to be the ones delivering letters and delivering gifts and words and all of the things. And so a death doula can not only help you organize it in a way that doesn't drain you, because if you're at the end of your life, energy output is a real concern. But you don't have to hire someone extra outside of a death doula or a lawyer to handle this for you. And then you could also pull one photo from your past or from now and write down the story behind it. It's different these days because most of our photos are digital, right? But my grandmother has tons of albums and I go through them every time I'm at her house and I turn them over, and it's, you know, y'all, I know y'all have seen it, right? They used to write who was in the picture, how old they were, what year it was, and if you're lucky, there's a sentence or two that explains what was happening. But that is rare and not often. So, but this is something that we can do. Now, how we can do that electronically, I don't know. People don't print out pictures no more, y'all. And we really got to start printing this stuff out. If the internet went down today, what do you have? What you got? I got a picture of me and Amber when we was 20 and 22. That's it. I have nothing else, right? So we need to make a point to print out some of these things. What have you always wanted to leave behind? What things have you been meaning to write, record, or make, and it hasn't happened yet? Let me know in the comments. Like, I want to know if you guys are in the same boat as most people where they haven't done anything. I think that naturally I have always been who I am. And so like I don't know. I feel like, again, I said this yesterday. I think I was destined to be a death doula. Yes, Amber, we were heading out to the club, honey, looking flyer than fly. We was some little hot mamas. But yeah, I think I've always been this way because, like I said, since I was a little girl, every time I go to my grandmother's house, I will go into her living room, the formal living room, pull out all of um, those photo albums, and I look through all the pictures, especially the ones of people who died before I was born. I have so many questions, and sometimes there's answers, and sometimes there's not. And I always hated not knowing, right? And that might just make me nosy, but I really believe that there is something in me that knew that this type of legacy was important. And for those of us that are descendants of slaves in the United States or anywhere on the Atlantic slave trade, this hits a little bit different, right? There is a hunger and a need to know who we came from and where we came from. That is deep. It's a deep wound. It's a small trauma, and maybe my writing all these. I published 2 journals, right? I wrote a memoir. I've created this grimoire for my children, the email accounts, like all of these things that I've been doing, trying to fill that void of the things that I don't know about my past. And so we can fix that in this generation. I was just on a live before this with Heidi. I'm trying to think of her handle. I can't think of the handle, but she said we healed 3 generations, 3 back and 3 forward. And in this generation, we can start to heal that wound where we don't know where we come from. And so think about our great grandchildren to be able to know who we were and what we loved and who we loved and how we lived is such a gift. So I really challenge Well Healed, y'all, at Well Healed. She does some amazing, like, I really feel like it's preaching, but she's going live every day too. So y'all get over there and check her out. She usually goes live around 4 o'clock every day. So, sadly, so much history has been lost. So it's a gift that we get to heal that. Yes, Amber, it is such a gift that we get to heal that. And it always starts with healing ourselves, right? We heal ourselves, to Heidi's point, and then that just trickles down to the next generations. All right, let's open it up. Questions about legacy projects. Questions about your own, or how to start for someone you love who might not have much time, whatever's up. And then we can know ourselves. Yes, you can really know yourself. And I don't think people really put enough thought into the damage of being disconnected from your ancestors and from your past. Can you do it with your kids? Absolutely. So my grimoire, even though I'm writing it, my daughter uses it now all the time. All the time she uses it. I'm trying to think. I can't think off the top of my head of something that I'm doing with my children right now that's legacy, except for, like, marking their height on the wall, but we won't be here forever. I do take a picture of their wall chart before we leave a place. We do like to do paintings and hang them up in the house. But that's a great idea, Heidi, doing something with them so that it's something that they have later on. Now, might sound silly, but my daughter and I, we love sourdough. And so we create sourdough cultures. And I would like to think that long after I'm gone, she'll still be dealing with the culture that we created together. So as simple as that is, it's a legacy project. Imagine marrying into the family, and after you come back from your honeymoon, your mother-in-law hands you some of the culture that your great grandmother started. That would be cool. So Heidi says, and becomes a family tradition so they can do it with their kids. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Okay, so some questions that I've gotten about legacy is it's so hard to kill sourdough, but if you're keeping it in the fridge in between, you can dehydrate it, right? Get it down to a powder, and then when you're ready to go again, you can rehydrate it. And I say this because I don't know if you guys knew this. I don't know how we ended. This is such a tangent, but they found sourdough in one of the tombs in Egypt, in an Egyptian tomb, rehydrated it, and baked bread from it. So you can't really ever kill it, I don't think. And cool fact, the Xbox symbol is the sourdough bread that was baked from Egypt. Bet you didn't know that one. All right, so back to these legacy projects. What if I don't feel like I have anything worth leaving? Which is crazy, okay? Because everyone has something. The mundane is the point, right? Your recipes, your morning routine, your opinions, your favorite song, what you like to do on a rainy day. Like all of these things are legacy, and these are the things that people miss. They don't miss the grand gestures that you did. Like my kids and their kids and their kids may love these books that I wrote, but they may like better touching the book that I wrote in with my handwriting. They may like to snuggle up with the book on a rainy day the way that I like to, right? And so start with what you know, not with what sounds impressive, is my advice on that. How do I start one for my parent who is aging and doesn't want to talk about death? So, great question. Don't frame it as death. Frame it as, I want to know you better. Make it about connection and not about loss. And, very few people are going to reject. They're not going to reject you wanting to connect with them. It's one of the basic human needs is connection, right? And so, yeah, I think that asking them about their childhood, right? I used to do, again, destined for this work, but I used to ask my grandmother about her childhood all the time. Now, I got traumatized a few times asking my Jim Crow era grandmother about her childhood, but at least I know. And it makes me more resilient because how dare I not pull the fuck through after all the shit that my grandmother has seen and done, and she's still here. That's how I feel about it. And so do you guys have any questions about legacy projects? And while I'm waiting for you guys to answer in the chat, another question that came through is, can I make a legacy project for someone who already died? And absolutely you can. Some of the most meaningful legacy work happens after. So sometimes it's not always an art project or a creative project. Sometimes it's a law, policy. Sometimes it's a foundation or a charitable act, right? People create scholarships and funds, grants are made in someone's name, someone that has passed. And I know some, but for whatever reason, off the top of my head, I can't pull any out of the sky right now, but you can definitely do some after the fact, because the point is preservation. It doesn't have to come from the person that it is, especially if you have someone's journal and you find out they had an affinity for koalas. So you start Save the Koalas Foundation in their name. That's a legacy project. All right. So I want to thank you guys so much for showing up today and learning about legacy projects. Please, 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 you can DM me or comment on these, on any of my videos, and tell me, like, what legacy projects have you already started? Do you plan to start? And maybe you just need some help, a little creative motivation. I'm happy to help as well. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to go live on IG, just to stay true to alternating. But I hope to see you guys then. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. Ciao.